warm welcome to each one of you. Welcome to the Theory Masters Learning family. Students, in this video, we are going to discuss something about the Indian Contract Act 1872, and you will be surprised to know that the entire act is actually covered in just one video. If you're watching my video for the first time, I am CA Preeti Agarwal and I make videos specially for you. Subscribe to your YouTube channel Theory Masters Learning and hit the bell icon so that you get notification for all the demo lectures. The Indian Contract Act 1872 is one of the most important acts of the CA Foundation law syllabus. The weightage of this act is somewhere around 15 to 20 marks. You can expect 5 to 6 questions from this act. Now, what kind of questions are generally asked? You may be asked a theory question or a case study based question. Now, what are case study based questions? They will give you a situation and you need to apply the concept and frame the answer. Now, let us begin with the most important concept of this act, meaning of the word contract. Students, you will be surprised to know that by the end of this video, we will discuss all the important concepts from the Indian Contract Act 1872. So let's get started. This act came into force on 1st September 1872 and it applies to the whole of India. Do we need to remember the dates for exam? Yes, a question may not be asked, but you need to know the dates so that wherever relevant, you can write down the date on which the act came into force. So this act came into force on 1st September 1872 and it is applicable to the whole of India. Yes, it applies to the whole of India. Now let us understand the meaning of the word contract with one very simple and practical example, something that you will be able to relate to. Now let's say for example, you are a student who wishes to become a chartered accountant. आपको chartered accountant बनना है. So you went to the institute's website, you filled the registration details, you paid the fees. This is nothing but an offer given to the CA Institute. I wish to become a chartered accountant. These are my details. Please consider me. This is nothing but an offer. The CA Institute takes 2-3 days. They go through your documents. After that, they send you an email confirming your registration. They give you your registration number. As soon as you receive the email, you can say, oh yes, my application has been accepted. So you gave an offer, the CA Institute, they gave you the registration number. This shows that they have accepted your offer. After registration, you order books. So you placed an order on the website, that is the CDS portal. When you got the delivery of books, you found that there is only prospectus. Where are my other books? What will you do? Will you just sit at home and wait for the CA Institute to send the other books? No, as a student, you start panicking. You will apply to the CA Institute. You will call them up. Where are my books? I had applied for the books. I have paid the fees. Where are my books? You will write an email or you will connect to any of the professors and asking, sir, why has this happened? Ma'am, what is happening? I've only got the prospectus. You immediately start calling the institute and you tell him, I want my books. Where are my books? What are you doing? You are trying to take action. You tell, now you cannot tell the CA Institute this, but in your mind you start, framing, अगर मेरी books नहीं आई ना, तो मैं तो institute ही पहुंच जाऊंगा. If I don't get my books, I will write a complaint letter to the president only. There are so many times when you write an email, a complaint email, what are you doing? You are actually taking action. You're telling them that if you don't give me my books, I will take action against you. If you don't confirm, if you don't reply to my mail, this is my complaint. So you are trying to take action. That is nothing but enforceability. Now, I don't want to give you ideas on how you can take action. Otherwise, you will tell that Preeti ma'am has taught all these remedies to us. Just kidding. So you gave an offer. It was accepted by the institute. If you don't get if you don't get the books, you try to take action. That intention of taking action is nothing but enforceability. Students, you have not realized, but this is a contract. This is a contract with the institute. I am paying fees. I expect books. I expect you to give me some free material, some coaching. If I am paying the fees, I expect exams to be conducted. So this is nothing but a contract. If they don't send books to you, you will take action. Students, to make a valid contract, you need three elements: offer, acceptance, and enforceability. Now relate this to business. If I sell goods to you, I expect to be paid for it. If I don't get payment, I will take legal action against you. That is nothing but enforceability. Enforceability means intention to sue, intention to file a case. See, every time you may not go to the court of law. Like in this case, you can go to the legal department, you can complain, you can send an email, but at least you're trying to take action. Why are we allowing you to take action? Because this is a contract. This is a contract. Now, in your daily life, you enter into so many contracts without even realizing. Now, I'm not giving you business examples because you have just cleared your 12th standard. You have not even worked in any organization. But you can pick up examples from your daily life. Okay, you get up in the morning. Right from the time you get up in the morning till you sleep at night, you are entering into contracts. You have a contract with a milkman. You have an arrangement with a milkman. You deliver milk every day. And at the end of the month, I will pay. I will settle your bill. Sometimes there is coupon system. You have to pay in advance. And then you expect milk to be delivered every day. What if the milk is not delivered? We will take action. We will call him. Where is the milk? We will not pay him. So this is a contract that you are entering with the milkman, that every day you supply milk and for that I will make payment. If you fail to supply milk, I will not pay you for that date. What if the milkman takes money in advance from you and runs away? We have the right to take legal action. He has taken money from me but not delivered the milk. This is a contract. It is a contract. Maid, yes, a maid comes to your house. I think everybody can relate to this. A maid coming to your house every day. They work for 31 days in a month, and at the end of the month, they expect you to pay. What if your mom doesn't pay? That maid will bring few other maids. They will start complaining. What are they doing? They are taking legal action. This is a contract. There is a contract with a newspaper guy. You bring newspaper every day, I will pay you at the end of the month. Okay, morning routine is done. Then you leave for college. We are waiting for colleges to start now. We want to move out of the house. Enough of this lockdown. So you move out of the house, you go to the bus stop, you wait for the bus. You can see a bus coming. That's an offer. I am going to the station. If you want, I'll drop you. We board, that is acceptance. We are using their services. We have to pay for that service. It is a contract. What if I tell the bus conductor, आज फ्री में जाने देना, आज क्या बच्चे से पैसे लेगा क्या? Will you take money from me? I have just joined the college today. Will they allow you to go for free? You have to pay money. It's a contract. If you don't pay money, they will take action against you. They will either take you to the police or the officer in charge, or you will be forced to pay fine. Maybe they will keep your ID card with you. Tomorrow you pay the fine and you can take this ID card, or they will ask you to get out of the bus. This is a contract. You reach college, you have paid fees, you expect lectures in return. It is a contract. Okay, enough of the study part. Let's go and have a cup of coffee. So you tell your friends, let's go and have a cup of coffee. You go to the coffee shop, it is a contract, we are paying money, we expect service in return. They also, they give you service, they expect money in return. This is nothing but a contract. So there are so many examples which we can give, and you must have not even realized that you're entering into so many contracts in a day. So students, there are certain essential elements which are to be present to make a valid contract. See, now this is something which is our basic understanding. Law says to make a valid contract, I will give you the requirements. If all these requirements are satisfied, then it is a valid contract. You can come to the court of law if the promises are not fulfilled. See, what is an act? Okay, what is an act? It is nothing but a set of rules. There are rules which we have to follow. If I want to make a valid contract, these elements must be present. If each and every element is present, it's a valid contract. If the promises are not fulfilled, I can go to the court and I can take action. So if I want to take action, I need to have a valid contract. Yes. Now, to make a valid contract, I need minimum two parties. How many parties? Two parties. Do you remember the equation which I gave you of contract? Do you remember that part? Okay, let's go to that. Let's go to it. For a valid contract, you need three elements: offer, acceptance, and enforceability. Enforceability means there must be intention to sue, intention to file a case. If the promises are not fulfilled, I can take action. When all these three elements they come together, it forms a contract. Now, I need minimum two parties to enter into a contract. One who gives the offer and the other person to whom the offer is given. So minimum two parties required to form a valid contract. One who gives the offer and the other person to whom the offer is given, ultimately he will give the acceptance. See, I can't give offer to myself. Will you buy a car? Yes, I will buy my own car. Is it possible? So minimum two different, distinct parties are required to enter into a valid contract. Then law says if you want to make a contract, this is your checklist. So first, are there two parties? Yes, sir, there are two parties. Then, is there proper offer and acceptance? What is the equation? Again and again we come back to that because the elements are hidden in the equation itself. Tell me, what is a contract? To make a valid contract, I need three elements. Tell me. I know I cannot hear you, but I can feel your answer. See, say it along with me. Okay, that is the only way of remembering law. Contract is offer plus acceptance plus enforceability. So it means to make a valid contract, I need offer, I need acceptance, I need enforceability. The first thing that I require is an offer. Offer is the starting point of contract. No offer, no acceptance, no contract. See, if there is no offer, what will you accept? It will not become a contract. So offer is the starting point of contract. The other day I was walking on the road. My neighbor called me. Arey, listen, I will buy your flat. I thought, when did I sell the flat to him? How can he accept when there is no offer? So no offer, no acceptance, no contract. Offer must be properly communicated. See, only when you know about the offer, you can accept it. How will we communicate the offer? Write a letter, call that person, send an email, meet him face to face. There are so many ways in which we can communicate the offer. And once he comes to know about it, it is his turn to accept it. Similarly, acceptance must also be communicated. See, I have given you the offer, but unless and until you don't communicate the acceptance, how will I understand that a contract is now being made? So I gave the offer, you had have knowledge, you heard about it, you read about it, you send your acceptance. Ultimately, we are on the verge of making a contract. Yes, offer and acceptance must be properly communicated. What is the third element? Tell me, what is the third element? I have an offer. There is an acceptance. What is the third element? Tell me. I need enforceability. Enforceability means intention to sue, intention to create legal relation. If one party defaults, other party can take action. Okay, now these are all contracts. You pay fees, you want the books. If you don't get it, you can take action. You have purchased milk, you have to pay. You have taken services of the maid, you have purchased the newspaper, you have to pay. If you don't, they will take action. It's a contract. You are using the bus services, you are using the services of the coffee house, you have to pay. It's a contract. If you don't, then the other person can take action. If you pay and don't get services, they can take action. So intention to create legal relation means that if one party defaults, other party can take action. It's a contract. Now I'll ask you questions, okay? You have to answer. I can't hear you, but I can feel your answer. Yes. Now, let's say that today your mom promised to make pav bhaji for you. My favorite. Okay. Your mom promised to make pav bhaji. The whole day you were thinking of pav bhaji while going to college, while coming from college, in the evening, that today at night I'm going to get pav bhaji. You went home, you were all so happy. When dinner was served, you saw that she made karela, kaddu. Eeks! I don't like this. Bitter good. Who eats that? Pumpkin. Who eats all these things? You are very sad. Can you tell Mom, this is not done, huh? You promised you will make pav bhaji today. You made pumpkin. You made karela. I don't like this. Come to the police station. You didn't fulfill your promise. Come to the police station. I will file a case against you. You promised, but you did not fulfill your promise. Can we take mom to the police station? No, that's not a contract because there is never any intention to create legal relation. When she promised she will make pav bhaji for me, I never thought that if she doesn't fulfill her promise, I will file a case. Okay, another example. Your dad promised to buy you a bike if you clear CA, not CA, okay, 12th standard. Okay, if you clear 12th standard in first attempt, they said, I will buy you a bike, okay, nice, costly one. So you studied a lot for 12th standard and you got very good marks. But dad is like, no, beta, not this time. It's too risky. Next time, okay, when you clear CA foundation, I will buy. Can you tell dad, not done, huh? You promised me. I even got results for that. Come to the police station. Come, let's go. Let's go. No, we never even thought about that while entering into that promise with him. So students, can I conclude from this that whenever there is any business or commercial transaction, like this is a commercial transaction, you're paying money. All these are commercial, they are business transactions. They are doing business of selling newspaper, business of selling milk, business of providing services. School, I will not call it as a business, but yes, they are offering services. Nobody is doing it for free. They never had the intention of giving it in charity or something like that. Again, selling of coffee, it's a business. So can I conclude that in case of business or commercial transactions. Can I say that in case of business or commercial transactions, there is intention to create legal relation? See, I did not tell you, but you understood things on your own. There is a presumption that if the parties do not, there is a presumption that if you do not fulfill the promise, we can take action. But what about your mom, your dad? In case of social means between friends. In case of domestic agreements, domestic means between family, between husband and wife. We never have intention to sue, intention to file a case. So there is no intention to create legal relation. There is no enforceability. This is not a contract. It is not a contract. This is not a contract because we never told mom that if she doesn't make pav bhaji, we will take action against her. We never even thought about it. We never even thought that if dad doesn't fulfill our promise, we will take him to the court of law. We never assume all that. So, in case of social agreement, that is between friends, domestic agreements between husband and wife, family members, we assume that there is no intention to create legal relation. There is no enforceability. It's not a contract. This is not a contract. But yes, in case of business or commercial assumption is there. They are contracts. The third element was there must be intention to create legal relation. Okay, what was the first element? First element is two parties. Second element, there must be proper offer and acceptance. We are just following the equation. There must be enforceability, intention to sue, intention to file a case. There is intention in case of business or commercial transactions, but there is no such intention in case of social or domestic agreements. Okay. The fourth essential element required is that there must be free consent. Nobody has forced me to enter into contract. I have entered into contract with my free will, my wish, my desire. Nobody has forced me. Only then it will be a valid contract. But what if my consent has been obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, mistake? Then in this case, the consent is not free. It's not a valid contract. For a valid contract, my consent must be free consent. Nobody has forced me. I am entering into contract out of free will, free wish, desire. I want to enter into contract. Nobody has forced me. No force has been used. No force. Nobody has forced me. But in case of consent obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, mistake, it's not a valid contract. People have forced you to enter into contract. Now, students, all this is discussed in the other units. Here, only introduction is given because we are just discussing the essential elements of a valid contract. For more detailed videos, do visit my website theorymasterslearning.com for the full course on Contract Act and Business Laws for CA Foundation. Link is in the description. Okay. Now, coercion means there is some kind of physical force. There is some kind of physical force used between the parties. We are forcing one party to enter into contract. Like, a don wants my house. I am not ready to sell it. He started beating me. I got scared. Okay, take my house. some threat or physical force is used, my consent is not free. Sometimes moral or mental pressure is used. Sometimes moral or mental pressure is used between persons whose relations are such that one person can easily influence the other person, like doctor and patient. The doctor tells the patient to buy a medicine costing 15,000 rupees. Actually, the patient was not suffering from any deadly disease. But we get so influenced. Teacher student, yes, the relation is such that teacher can easily influence the student. I tell you to give me 5 lakh rupees and I will clear you in the exam with flying colors. This is undue influence. Fraud. What is fraud? See, oh, sorry. In the previous example, there is some relation, so we can add that also. Need not be blood relation, but the relation is such that one can easily influence the other person. So I'll mention that relation also. Okay. What is fraud? In case of fraud, the intention is to cheat or to deceive the other party. My intention is to cheat the other party, obtain either money or by cheating and force him to enter into contract. Now, X by fraud influenced Y to enter into contract, took 1 lakh rupees advance and ran away. It's not a valid contract. Y can find X, take action against him, complain to the police, prove that fraud was committed. He can get back his 1 lakh rupees. Misrepresentation. In case of misrepresentation, there is false representation. But it is made innocently. Now, what is the difference between fraud and misrepresentation? In case of fraud, there is false representation of facts. Means I'm saying something which is false knowingly, with the intention to cheat, to deceive the other person. So in case of fraud, the false representation is made knowingly, with the intention to cheat, to deceive the other person. In case of misrepresentation, I am giving false information but innocently. I don't intend to cheat or to deceive the other party. I thought what I am saying is true. मुझे लगा जो मैं बोल रही हूँ वो सच है. मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था कि जो मैं बोल रही हूँ वो गलत है. I believed it to be true. That is misrepresentation. Giving false facts but innocently. Mistake, it means an erroneous belief concerning something. अब सुनो, X sold a horse to Y. Now, horse is in the stable. They think that the horse is alive. But the fact is that the horse had died in the stable. They were not even aware of it. Now they are entering into a contract thinking that the horse is alive. But the fact is, the horse is dead. Will this be a valid contract? They are not even aware. They are mistaken as to the fact that the horse is alive. There is mistake of fact. They think in their mind that the horse is alive, but the fact is that the horse is dead. It's not a valid contract because you can't perform the contract. No, you can't give the horse. Horse is dead. They think that the horse is alive, but the fact is that the horse is dead. They are mistaken. Many a time, students ask me, what is the difference between misrepresentation and mistake? In both these cases, there is like some innocence only. See, in misrepresentation, you are giving false facts. although innocently. But in case of mistake, you understand facts on your own. There is no communication as such. In detail, we will discuss all this in the video lectures. This is only giving you a flavor of what you can expect in the recorded lectures for CA Foundation Business Law. Students, for the complete lectures on the entire syllabus of business law, do visit my website theorymasterslearning.com. A lot of discussion. This is just a trailer. It's not even a trailer, I should say. This is just to give you a flavor, and the video lectures will be amazing. You will be surprised how can law be taught in such an interesting and dynamic manner. Yes, that's my aim. I want to surprise you. Okay, let's proceed further. Capacity to contract. Now, the person who is entering into a contract must be capable of entering into contract. So who are capable? Major person. Who is a major person? Yes, one who has completed 18 years of age. Both male and female, the age is same. Person must be of sound mind. He must be normal, sane, rational, someone who can understand the terms of the contract, form judgments. Person should not be disqualified. Who are disqualified? Here we have king, queen, monarchs, rulers, representatives of foreign states, ambassadors, diplomats. They have immunity. We can't file case against them. Now, let's say, for example, you entered into a contract with the Queen of England. If she doesn't perform the contract, can you put her in the prison? No, we cannot. They are disqualified from contracting. Okay. Alien enemy. You cannot enter into contract with them. They are disqualified from contracting. Now, who is an alien? Alien means foreigner. Enemy means citizen of a country with whom we are at war. So you cannot enter into contract during war. They are disqualified. They are our enemy. We cannot enter into contract with them. You cannot enter into contract with convicts. Convict means someone who's in prison. How will he perform the contract when he's in prison? When he comes out of the prison, we can enter into contract. What about insolvent? He's a bankrupt person. How will we enter into contract with him? He will not be able to fulfill the contract. They are all disqualified. So you cannot enter into contracts with these persons. The consideration must be lawful. Now this is defined under section 2D of the Contract Act. What is consideration? Consideration in simple words means something in return. See, I am not over here to give something in charity, okay? If I'm giving goods, I want money. If I'm giving money, I want services. Both the parties expect something in return. Only then it is a valid contract. Now, what is consideration? X promises to deliver goods to Y and Y promises to pay money, let's say 10,000. Both are getting something in return. Let's say that X is giving goods. What is she getting in return? 10,000. So what is the consideration for X? What is she getting? 10,000. If Y is giving 10,000, what is he getting in return? Okay, he is giving 10,000. What is he getting in return? Goods. So what is the consideration for Y? Goods. Both are getting something in return. It's a valid contract. So there must be consideration. You must get something in return. Only then it will be a valid contract. Plus, whatever you're getting must be lawful. What is lawful? Oops. Lawful means something which is accepted by law. Okay, I sold goods. Is it valid consideration? Yes. I'm giving you services. Is it valid consideration? Is it lawful consideration? Yes. Drugs? No, no, no. Not lawful. It's unlawful consideration. Will it be a valid contract? No. Okay, arms and ammunitions? No. So, for a valid contract, the consideration must be lawful, something which is accepted by law. So, giving drugs, arms, ammunitions, bribe, all these are unlawful consideration, not a valid contract. Then the object must be lawful. Object refers to the purpose for which you are entering into contract. That purpose must be lawful. It's the purpose for which you are entering into contract. That purpose must be lawful. So, can you tell me selling rice, will it be lawful purpose? Yes. Selling books, is it lawful object? Yes. Selling machinery, is it lawful object? Yes. Selling drugs? No. But ma'am, you gave the same example above also. Students, because these two provisions go hand in hand. If the object is lawful, consideration is also lawful. But if the object is unlawful, the money, the consideration involved is also unlawful. Okay, tell me, arms and ammunitions? No, it's unlawful. Bribe? No, that object is unlawful. Like, I'll secure admission for you in college. Give me 10 lakh rupees. No, no, no. I'll secure employment in government job. Give me 5 lakh rupees. No, no, no. Not a valid object, not a valid contract. So to be a valid contract, your object and your consideration both must be lawful. Yes, both must be lawful. Agreement must not expressly be declared void. What is the meaning of void? Void is the opposite of valid. What is valid? See, valid means enforceable by law. You can enforce, you can go to the court. Void means it is not enforceable by law. Students, there is a list. Okay, there is a small list of the agreements which are expressly declared void. These are void agreements. They are not enforceable. Don't enter into these contracts. Don't enter. So you should ensure that you do not enter into these contracts which are expressly void. They will not be valid contract. Detailed discussion. Not now. I'll just explain the example. Detailed discussion when we meet for the full course. Yes? Okay. Now, agreement and restraint of marriage. X tells Y, take 5 lakh rupees, don't marry ever. India is a free country. You can't stop me from marrying. Complete or partial, any kind of restraint is void. It's not a valid contract, not a valid agreement, no. X tells Y, this is my area and only I will do business over here. You take 2 lakh rupees, shut your business and get out. You can't stop anyone from carrying out lawful business, trade, profession. It's void. It's not a valid contract, huh? You can't enter into such contracts. Wagering. Wager means betting. Is betting allowed? You are entering into cricket betting. You don't fulfill the terms of the promise. Whether India will win the match, tell me. 500 rupees, yes. India won the match. I won the bet. You're not paying money. Can I file a case against you? No. Betting is not valid. No. To make a valid contract, meaning must be certain. Whatever terms, words, the words that we are using, they must be clear, certain. They must not be confusing. Like, to give you an example, X is a dealer in different kinds of oil. He's a dealer in different kinds of oil. He deals in like coconut oil, sesame oil, then olive oil, many kinds of oil. He enters into a contract promising to sell 100 liters of oil to buy. He says, I will sell 100 liters of oil to you at 100 rupees per liter. Tell me, is this a valid contract? Tell me. Now, I am not going to answer on the basis of what we have discussed. Tell me, is it a valid contract? If you say this is not a valid contract, the type of oil is not specified. Your answer is absolutely right. Brilliant, students. Very good. The kind you identified it bang on, it's the correct answer. The kind of oil is not specified. Which oil? Coconut oil? Sesame oil? Are you entering into contract for olive oil? You're not specifying the kind of contract. It's not oil. It's not a valid contract. For a valid contract, each and every term must be certain. The contract must be capable. It must be possible of being performed. Like, I promise to sell you rice. We can perform it. Wheat? Yes, we can perform it. Books? Yes, we can perform it. Star? I will bring you one star from the sky. Give me 5 lakh rupees. Can we perform it? No, it's not a valid contract. I will bring a piece of moon from the sky, especially for you. Is it a valid contract? It's not. These are only promises, okay? It can never be performed. It's not a valid contract. Foolish people, they are entering into such contracts. Can we go to the court and say, Judge, he promised me he'll bring a star from the sky. I paid him 5 lakhs. He did not bring a star. Judge will send you home. Okay. Legal formalities. In case there are legal formalities, like, contract must be in writing only. It must be registered. There must be attestation. There must be stamping. Then we will fulfill these formalities. If there are no formalities, then you can enter into contract. Even oral contracts are valid. Yeah, we need to prove them, but oral promises are also valid. Unless law requires it to be in writing only. Now, students, all these 11 elements must be present, only then it will be a valid contract. Actually, if you see the Bare Act, no, all these 11 points are not given under a valid contract. But I have framed the answer from the exam point of view. In case a question is asked on this, so you need to write all the 11 points, okay? So that is how we have framed the answer. Now, contract is entered. You have to perform, you have to fulfill your promise. Fulfilling of promise is known as performance of contract. What is performance of contract? Performance means you are fulfilling your promise. What if you don't fulfill your promise? Failure is known as breach of contract. Failure to perform, okay? Failure to perform is known as breach of contract. So, failure to perform promises, that is known as breach of contract. Do you know an entire unit is dedicated to breach of contract? We are going to study that in the Contract Act. There is an entire unit dedicated to performance of contract. We are going to study that also. And then we are going to study each and every element in detail. Yes? Okay, what is failure to perform? It is breach of contract, which may be either actual breach or anticipatory breach. What is actual breach of contract? Breach which takes place on the due date of performance. Now, X promised to supply goods to Y, and he promised that I will give the goods on 15th of April. Now, Y is waiting for the goods to arrive. Goods do not arrive. On 15th, X called, listen, I will not be able to send the goods. Please cancel the contract. What cancel the contract? I was waiting for the goods. You promised you will give me the goods for 100 rupees. Now I went to the market, the price increased to 120. Who will pay me that money? X will pay. He failed to perform, no? So we can take action. It's a contract. We will file a case. It's an actual breach. We will recover damages. There are different kinds of damages which we are going to study in breach of contract. with many examples and case laws. Okay, this is just the beginning. Yes, this is just the beginning of our wonderful journey of studying law. What is anticipatory breach? Anticipatory breach means breach which takes place before the due date. Before the due date. Like the due date in this case is 15th. He promised to deliver it on 15th. He called on 13th itself and refused. Hey, listen, I cannot perform the promise. Huh? You forget that there was any contract. This is anticipatory breach of contract. What is the meaning of anticipatory? You must have studied that word anticipation, before. So anticipatory breach means which takes place before the due date of performance. Yes, we will file a case. We will claim damages. There are different kinds of damages. There are different remedies which are available. We will study all that when I meet you for the full course of business law only on my website theorymasterslearning.com. So students, this is the entire Contract Act. Did you realize that in record time we completed the entire Contract Act? Yes, so this is what you're going to study in CA Foundation Contract Act. This is the most important act of law, and law is all about the elements that we discussed. Many a time students have a lot of curiosity as to, ma'am, I want to do CA, okay? I want to become a chartered accountant, but I don't know what I'm going to study and what work will I do after becoming a chartered accountant. So students, this is just to give you an idea of what exactly you will be studying in law, and it's the most practical subject. I think you can apply it to your daily life. See, I picked up examples from your daily routine without even realizing you have entered into so many contracts. Yes, all this will be studied in a lot of detail when we meet in the full course lectures only on my website theorymasterslearning.com. Students, the next demo lecture will be coming up very shortly. Okay, and do you want me to tell you the topic? No, I won't tell you. I won't tell you the topic. You have to subscribe to your channel Theory Masters Learning to get a notification on the next demo lecture, which we will be posting very soon.